Welcome to the Jim Florentine Comedy Metal Midgets podcast on riotcast.com. This week's podcast is called Landscaping Stories. A few months ago, I did a podcast on construction stories when I used to work on construction sites. And in that time frame, my life, probably from 18 to 23, I also worked at different times as a landscaper, which was horrific. Anyone knows if you're doing landscaping, if you don't own the business, there's hardly any money in it. Unless you're with that, company for a long time and it just sucks. You're raking leaves, you're mowing lawns, using a weed eater, it's fucking hot. You're just going from house to house, cutting lawns, maybe planting trees, digging holes, dumping rocks in a friggin' wheelbarrow and dumping them in another, just building rock walls. It's a lot of fucking heavy work and just brutal, not fun at all. But I think that's where I just know that just being on those sites and just digging and dropping mulch and making, people's beds up outside the house and all that shit with, mulch, rocks, all that shit. We were just bored. So constantly, just to entertain ourselves, we would just make up these insane scenarios. All right, how about for $10,000, would you let a guy give you a hand job? And it'd be like, no, I'm not. 10,000 cash. Or then this went on for 8 hours. Come on, 10,000 cash. Okay. No one knows the guy. You get a hotel room. The guy shows up at your door. You don't know him. He doesn't know you. He walks in. He jerks you off. As soon as you come, you get 10,000 cash in a little suitcase, and then he leaves, and you never see him again. You don't have to tell anyone. It's tax free. So we'd start with that, and then if someone said yes to that or said, all right, how about for $15,000, you have to look him in the eye the whole time as he's doing it, like you're in love. Another $5,000 on that. It just went on for hours. Our boss used to get so mad. It's like, enough with this stuff. This is ridiculous. I go, no, it's not. You're paying us $5 an hour. We want out of this life. If some guy could jerk me off and I can make 15 grand, I'm out. So that was just to entertain ourselves. But I used to, I lived down in Florida for a few years too. So I was cutting lawns down in Florida. I worked for this landscaper who I actually lived with. So I couldn't even call out of work because the guy was in the next room over and he was my boss. So try cutting about 20 to 25, well, probably about 20 lawns a day in the middle of summer in the South Florida heat. How brutal that was. And we weren't getting up early because we were hungover, so it's not like we started at 6 in the morning when it was kind of cool out. We started like 9:30. Horrific how hot it was. And plus behind the mowers, so if it's 100 degrees out, you're behind a mower, it's 120. That's how hot it is. We got to the point where we'd only do people's houses that had a pool so we could jump in because most people aren't home during the day. So we just drive around. So, we're supposed to cut the lawns, I think, once every 2 weeks because the grass doesn't really grow in Florida because of the heat. We'd be cutting it every 5th day, every 6th day. And, the boss would hear from the people like, why'd you cut our lawn again? It's like, it was starting to get, a little high. So we just figured, cut it now. We only did it because they had a pool, and we'd just jump in and we'd stay in there and cool off for like 20 minutes, a half hour, whatever it was, piss in their pool because they never leave us a tip. And my boss had no money. I had no money. The other guys that worked for us, none of us had a dime to our names. So my boss used to just go to houses that would pay us in cash. We'd cut their lawn like friggin' once every 2 weeks or once a week. Maybe every 5 days we'd show up again. And it needs another cut. We're just trying to get it, so the lawn looks a little better. Because they'd pay us cash and then we can go eat. Then he could give us an advance. I know that the boss had a bank account, but I think the IRS was taking money every time he put a check in there. So he tried to make it out to cash. And then we'd have to go to their bank. So as soon as we were done with a lawn, we'd have to drive, 10, 15 miles, wherever their local bank was and cash a check just so we can eat lunch. And as soon as we cash a check for like $30 or $40, we go right to the strip club and go have lunch. at the strip club, have a couple beers, and then try to go back out in the South Florida sun in August to cut 9 more lawns in the afternoon. Nothing worse than having a few beers in you and walking out of a strip club at like 1 o'clock in the afternoon and then going back to work when it's 100 degrees out and you're back to mowing lawns. I was probably getting paid $7 an hour, maybe not 5. I'd say probably about $7 an hour. Had no money. What we used to do, we get off of work, we'd stop at like 3:30, just couldn't do it anymore. We go home and we shower, and then at like 5 o'clock, there was like 3 different hotels that would have a free buffet, like a happy hour buffet. They basically put out food, but you just had to buy beer. So that's how they made their money. They put out free food. They make everything really spicy. And then you figured, all right, people are going to drink like 2 or 3 beers or have drinks, so we'll make our money that way. So we used to just go into these hotels. We knew the route. We knew exactly where they were. They were like 8 miles away from each other, each one. We'd pop in there, get a plate of food. As soon as you sat down at a table, a waitress would come over. Okay, what do you want to drink? Because they need to sell their beers and drinks and alcohol to make their money. We're like, my friend is just, hold on a second. I'm not sure what he's going to pay. So, he'll be here in like 2 minutes. And then we'd fucking shoo her away. The shit was so hot we were eating. We'd go in the bathroom and cup the water over the sink and just drink from the sink. Because we weren't going to pay friggin' $5 for a beer. We didn't have that money. And the waitress come back over. All right, so what do you guys want to drink? Seriously, we got to get. I got a bunch of other orders. Like, let me just. I got my wallet out in the car. Let me just go get it first, and then we just leave, blow out of there, go to the next buffet, eat there for free, drink the friggin' water out of the faucet in the bathroom, and take off. That's what cutting lawns gets you. Eating free food and drinking out of a faucet in a bathroom. But at this time, I don't know. I think at like 20 or something like that, I started growing my hair. So I had long hair from like 20 to 23. And this is like late 80s. You couldn't get a job with long hair. I used to do a joke on stage. I think it was like the first joke I ever did. So when you got long hair, you're in a band. Either you're in a band or you mow lawns. There's nothing else you could do. No one in a bank was going to hire you. You weren't going to have any kind of important job. Even like in a store, they wouldn't hire you because your hair. Now it doesn't matter. You could have fucking tattoos on your face. You can have Satan written on your fucking tattooed on your face, and you could work in a bank. But back then it was like, oh man, you're not going to be able to work anywhere. You got to cut your hair. They need you to look presentable. So I just did it. With long hair, you were very limited in where you could work. I didn't want to work in an office. I wanted no part of that shit. When I first started landscaping, I'm like, hey, you know what? I'll get a good tan. That's all I cared about. I'm like, yeah, I'll get a fucking nice tan. Who gives a shit? And then I just kept doing it and doing it. It was awful. Just brutal. There was this one guy. I'm trying to. You have to realize, if anyone landscaped there knows what I'm talking about. Like in New Jersey, where I landscaped for a while too. We pull up to like this rich neighborhood with these huge houses and about 40 trees on their property. And it'd be the fall. And it was like a cleanup thing they would call it or whatever, fall cleanup. And you would just rake leaves for like 2 straight days on one person's property. So just imagine you're fucking 20 years old, 22, you're hungover. You're drinking beers with your friends last night. You were at a party. You have to wake up early, go to some shit job, and you pull up in front of a fucking mansion that you wish you lived in. And they just hand you a couple rakes and a tarp and go, okay, we'll pick you up at lunchtime. And you just sit there and you're just raking leaves by yourself. Maybe that's where all my anger and rage came from. Raking rich people's leaves into a tarp, rolling it down the hill, and then dump it into a truck, a landscaping truck, for hours and hours. It was so brutal. But I work with this guy. So this guy was kind of, he was older than us. He was, let's see, if I was like 20, he was probably like 32, 33. He had his own landscaping business, really successful. I worked with him for a while. Cool dude, but kind of like nerdy. Glasses, mustache. But he had his own house. He was a bachelor. He had a beautiful house. Lived by himself in like the woods. Had a killer pad, right? Jacuzzi in the backyard. Even in the wintertime, he had it fired up. Always trying to bang chicks. But now, he would have to always go for like the older ones. And he was intrigued that, you know, me and the other guys that work for his landscaping company would get these young chicks. When I had long hair back then, it was easy. Any chick that so many girls like guys with long hair in the 80s. It was so easy just to get laid. Even if you just looked like you were in a band, chicks would bang you. It was phenomenal. So he decides to hire me, and he's like, look, he had a friend of mine was like the foreman on his crew, and he was probably making, I think I started off at $6 an hour on this guy's job. The foreman was probably making 12 an hour, 11 or $12 an hour, right? So the guy hires me, and I used to DJ at a rock club. So I used to DJ at like Thursday nights and the weekends too. I think Thursday, Friday, Saturday or something like that, like heavy metal night. So I know all these chicks. They'd always be coming in. It was the same regulars come in to see the hard rock bands or whatever. So he basically told me, he goes, hey, man, if you can get me laid, get the assist and get me laid somehow, I'll give you $1 an hour raise. That was the deal. And me, you know, I start off at $6 an hour. I'm like 21 years old or something like that. I'm like, holy, all right, cool. So within 1 month, I was making more than the foreman. I was making $12 an hour in 1 month. I got him 6 chicks in 1 month. Just by this was my rap at the rock club. I'd be DJing, a bunch of people there, and I'd be rapping, and no one wanted to go home. Everyone was out partying. I'm like, hey, I got a friend that, first of all, he didn't like heavy metal at all. He liked like Barbra Streisand, the Eagles, soft rock like Jackson Browne. He liked all. He had nothing. He didn't barely liked even rock music. Just a little classic rock, but definitely not heavy metal. When we put it on in the truck, he hated it. He's like, "Shut that shit off. That's terrible." So he wanted nothing to do with that scene. Didn't understand it at all. So my rap was to these girls. I go, hey, my friend's my friend's a big record producer. You know, he produces like Metallica and stuff like that, and he's got his own place. Only a few miles. He only lived probably like 5 miles from the rock club I DJ'd at. I go, and you know, we can go back to his place. He's got booze. He's got a jacuzzi and stuff like that. So, you know, when he's up, because I just talked to him before, and they're like, really? I'm like, yeah, we can keep drinking. We don't have to go home now. Next thing I know, I get on a payphone because there was no cell phones then. I get a payphone at the club. I go, dude, I won't use his name. I go, dude, I got 2 live ones coming over. Wake up. He goes, how long? I go, like about 15 minutes. He's like, all right, hurry up, hurry up. Next thing I'll bring him over. We make up these excuses. Yeah, he's a record producer. Yeah, he was an assistant engineer on the Metallica Kill 'Em All record. They're like, really? Well, how are those guys? Like, yeah, they're nice guys. You know, he didn't know any of their names, just bullshit. And I'm like, yeah, well, and I, of course, have to cut it. I'm like, yeah, well, Lars, he thought was super nice to him, would take him out to drink all the time. Like, really? Lars was really nice? I'm like, yeah, James is great to him, too. So I just fill in the blanks on him because he had no idea what he was talking about. He had short hair, like I said, a bad mustache and glasses, but somehow at that hour, at 2 o'clock in the morning, girls didn't care, and then he would take one of their friends in the jacuzzi. We'd get in the jacuzzi or whatever, outside, even if it was in the wintertime, 0 degrees out. He had that thing cranked, friggin' hot. They'd get in there, and next thing you know, he's banging them. And the next day at work, he'd be like, he'd drop everybody off at the house to go rake leaves. He'd be like, Jim, stay in the truck with me. We got to go pick up some supplies. And then he would just want to talk about what happened the night before. And then I wouldn't even have to show up to the job site till like 10 or 11 o'clock in the morning. It was beautiful. Everybody else on the job site hated me. The foreman, who was my friend, was pissed. He's like, you're getting out all this work. This is ridiculous. It was beautiful. Nonstop. Larry, I said his name. Who gives a shit? Nobody knows. Larry, I got a couple live ones coming over. Get up. All right. I'll be there in 15 minutes. I'd say, 4 out of 10 times he'd close the deal. They were already wasted. They were in a good mood. They wanted to hang. They wanted to keep drinking. They didn't care. And as long as he had like some kind of heavy metal or hard rock connection, every time was a different story. Oh, yeah, he's the one who originally signed Bon Jovi to his first contract. They're like, really? He's like, yeah, I saw him in a club in, Sayreville, New Jersey. And I thought these guys were great. And I originally signed them. And then, they went to a bigger management, whatever the lie was. And these girls like, oh, my God, this guy's famous. And they were just, girls that are, 21, 22. We're super impressed that this guy had his own place, a beautiful house in the woods with a jacuzzi, total, really nice place, well decorated, all that stuff. Closed the deal every time. It was beautiful. I would just hang out with the other girl. Like, I was like, you know what? It's more important for me to get $1 more an hour than to try to work on this girl. So I would just hang with her. We'd watch TV or whatever like that. The other two would be in the jacuzzi or in the bedroom. He'd come out like 4 in the morning. All right, yeah, I got to get up early in the morning. I got to go to the city. I'm working on a new Scorpions record. Because I'd always give him a couple of heavy metal names just so he could throw out there. And then we'd leave. 3 hours later, I'm back up, and we're talking about what happened the night before. It was unbelievable. The best time was these two girls that would come to the rock club when I was DJing. I became friends with them. And I was telling my boss about him. And I said, hey, man, we might be able to meet him for lunch. So I call him up. I go, hey, we're in the area. You want to go meet for lunch? So they said, sure. So that we bring the two girls there. We have lunch with them. It's me, the two girls, and my boss. And they're sitting there. We're just talking about heavy metal. My boss is completely disinterested, has no idea what we're talking about. And I said to one of the girls, I'm like, hey, I think one of them liked me, I think. And so I said, hey, I go, well, what about, how about we go on like a double date, all of us? And both of the girls like, hey, no offense to you. We only like guys with long hair. And my boss like, come on, you got to be kidding me. No, seriously. He's like, yeah, but I got a good job. I own my business. This and that. I got a house. No, I'm sorry. If you don't have long hair, we can't date you. We only like guys. So he's like, so we walk up, we stop having lunch with him, right? We get back in the truck. He's like, I can't believe that. I go, Larry, these girls are really stupid. I go, this is what we'll do. I remember it was a Friday. I said, look, let's go to the mall. It was around near Halloween. I remember that. I go, let's go to the mall. We'll get you a wig, a long hair wig. And then I'll tell these girls, I'll call them later and say, hey, my friend who's a record producer, once again, produces Metallica, is having a party at his house. You guys want to come? And he's like, that's not going to work. He goes, we just went to lunch with him. He goes, and tonight I'm going to have a wig on. They're going to know who I was. I go, no, they're not. They're stupid. They're going to have no. I mean, he had a thick mustache, almost like a Tom Selleck mustache. You know what I mean? Plus the glasses. He might have taken the glasses off. I can't remember when. So we go to the mall. We get like sort of like a Howard Stern wig. Like, his hair as a wig. We got like a long black hair down to his shoulders. Perfect wig. He's like, this ain't going to work. I'm like, we're trying it on in the mall. It was, with the other guys there. He's like, this is so stupid. I'm telling you, I think we could pull this off. I call the girls up. I said, hey, we're having a party. Like, all right, we got nothing going on. We'll go. We'll go to your friend's house. I'll never forget. I brought some albums with me, some like metal records, just so we could play. I remember he had a turntable or whatever. So I brought some records with me just so, because we knew these chicks liked hard rock. They weren't going to listen to his fucking goofy Barbra Streisand or his shit music or his Jackson Brown shit that he was listening to. So I said, I'll bring some metal records. We'll crank them in the house. We'll have a big party. All right. I pull up with the girls. I meet them somewhere, whatever. We pull up in the driveway and we knock on the door. And he opens the door and he has the wig on. It was one of the funniest moments in my life to see my boss wearing a long-haired wig and go, hey, dude, how you doing? Hey, it's nice to meet you girls. Did you bring the Metallica records? Because I had a bunch of records in my hand. Like he cared. And I'm like, yeah, I got him right here. I go, here, take him. And he goes, come on in, girls, come on in. Check out my place, whatever. And I'm like, hold on, I'll be right back. I just forgot something in the car. I had to go back in the car and just sit there for like 15 minutes and get all the laughter out of my body because I'm like, I cannot go back in there and fucking start laughing because they're going to be on to him. Right away, I'm thinking, all right, they definitely already know. I'm waiting for them to come out of the house, go, you fucking asshole. That's the same guy I went to lunch with today. They're still in there. I'm in the car. I'm like, all right, I got to fuck. I can't break character. Come on. You can't do this. This will be unbelievable if we pull this off. 15, maybe not. I'm exaggerating. Probably 8 minutes later, I go back in. I walk in the house. He's already got the music on. He's cranking Metallica, Master of Puppets. The girl's like, oh, yeah, he already got drinks. They got beers in him. And they're like, I like your friend, man. He's cool. This is an amazing place. I'm like, really? You like him? She's like, yeah. He seems like a nice guy. And I'm like, yeah, he is a good guy. An hour later, he was banging one of them. An hour later. With the wig on. And I told him, he goes, she wants to go in the room with me. I'm like, I was just hanging with the other one, just having beers. I don't even think I could have got an erection because to me it was so funny. I remember telling him, I go, just make sure you hit her for, you have sex with her doggy style because any other way she might pull your wig off. She might grab your hair and that fucking wig flies off. You can't take that chance. He's like, that's a good idea. That's a good idea. So he banged her doggy style with a wig on, and they had no idea. I have a picture of him in that wig somewhere still, because I saw it a couple of years ago and I was going through my old shit. Every time, like, I have to go on stage or I have to do something, I have to get in a better mood or whatever, something freaking me out or something, I always think of him opening that door. Hey, dude, how's it going, man? Did you bring the Metallica records? And it makes me laugh every time. It puts me in a good mood. That we had lunch with him, like 1 o'clock? And then 7 hours later, he put a wig on, and they didn't know it was him. And just because he had long hair, he banged one of them. It was beautiful. I think I might have got a $2 an hour raise after that one. That was a defining moment in my career to help my friend get laid. I got a YouTube channel now. You like that segue? I post these videos up there. If you follow me on Twitter or whatever, you might see them. But I guess just look up Jim Florentine, YouTube. I put like these 2-minute videos. I just ranted about the fucking assholes waiting for the new iPhone, camping out overnight. I just put a little video up there. So I put like 1 or 2 up every week. So check it out if you get a chance. Jim Florentine on YouTube. It's just me ranting into my phone about different shit if you get a chance. An email. Any suggestions for podcast feedback or... we're still doing the awful slang words, so I'll be doing another one soon. You hear any slang words out there, some new ones, let me know. We're still doing the awful Facebook posts. They're coming in like fucking crazy, like always. You can email me at comedymetalmidgets@gmail.com. And then I got some tour dates. I'm in Texas this week, Fort Worth, Texas, Hyenas Comedy Club. Thursday through Saturday, September 25th through to 27. October 3-4, Rochester, coming back to Rochester, New York, Joke Factory. October 10 and 11, New Hope Cinema, New Hope, Minnesota, right outside of Minneapolis. October 16th through 18th, Funny Stop, Cuyahoga Falls, Ohio. November 6th through 9, the Improv in Cleveland, Ohio, I'm coming back to. I got a couple Jersey dates coming up, some little rooms. Wednesday, September 24th, the Comedy Shop in Mount Arlington, New Jersey. I think the gig's in a hotel. I'm not sure. I never did it, but Wednesday. And then November 1st, Comedy Cove in Springfield, New Jersey. And then November 28th, Uncle Vinny's Comedy Club at the Tuscan House in Toms River, New Jersey. So if you get a chance, check the dates out, whatever. All right. So there was another guy I work with, landscaping in New Jersey. He was a friend of mine. He was a good friend of mine. He was the guy that would get annoyed when we were coming up with those scenarios. For $5,000, would you take, would you let a guy finger your ass? All of that stuff. He would just get annoyed by that. So he had this work van. Like an old school fucking like creepy van. that a child molester would try to pick up a kid, and he had one of those vans. And he had vinyl seats in there. And there was no air. The air conditioning didn't work in his van, so it was fucking so hot. Because what happened was he'd have these ramps, and we'd put like the one big mower back into the van. So we just cut a lawn. The thing is fucking 180 degrees, the mower, from being outside working and all that stuff. And then we have to put it in the van. So the van was horrifically hot. So we'd have the windows down, whatever we could do, right, to get some air in the place. So, I mean, this guy, I was really close to this guy. We were friends. So one day, he used to wear these shorts, really like short silks shorts. Like, remember the old players in the NBA, the white guys used to have those shorts that were really short on them? Well, he used to wear those kind of shorts, like gay shorts, all the time in the summertime when we're landscaping. So one time I'm working with him. I'm in the passenger seat. Now I'm using Ben Gay on my fucking shoulder. I had to be 21 years old because I wound up getting bursitis in my shoulder from jerking off too much. I didn't masturbate till I was 21, and I'm not lying. I wish I could say that's bullshit. I wish I could tell you when I was 2 years old, I arced one on my mom. None of that stuff. 21. I grew up repressed Catholic. Everything was a sin. I was horrified. I was petrified. I thought I was going to burn in hell every day. And for some reason, I got laid right before I was 18 was the first time I got laid. And a couple other times, but I never jerked off until I was 21. I know. It's insane that it was 21 years old before I did that. I remember the first time, I think I was drunk. I was drunk one night. I was completely hammered. I went to sleep, and in my sleep, I jerked off, and I woke up in the morning, and I felt so bad. I felt like the biggest loser. I thought everybody was looking at me like, what a piece of shit you are. I remember I had to go DJ that day. I was DJing in rock clubs. I was DJing like weddings and parties and shit. I was doing that on the side too. And I remember I had to go DJ the next day, and I just thought everybody in the place knew what I did and what a piece of shit I am. I felt so bad. But then like 3 days later, I did it again, and then I went on a tear. I couldn't stop. It was the greatest thing I've ever felt in my life at that point. So I jerked off so much that I actually got bursitis in my arm for overworking my right arm. I got bursitis. I had to go to the doctor. The doctor's like, yeah, this is definitely a bursitis in the shoulder. He's like, I go, what does that cause from? I had no idea that's what happened. Why that was. He's like, well, it's overuse of the arm. Have you been overusing this arm? I'm like, no. I was a lot now. I'm like, oh shit. He's like, I go, because I'm a lefty. I barely even use that arm. He's like, yeah, that's weird because you use. I go, yeah, I use my left hand for pretty much everything. He's like, that's strange. So you haven't been overusing this arm at all? Like he was questioning me. I'm like, no, not at all. I don't know. Maybe I just slept on it wrong. He's like, no, you don't get bursitis like that. I don't know what it is, but why it happened, but it's definitely overuse of the arm, and that's why he got bursitis. So he put my arm in a sling for a couple of days just to keep it steady, and then I took the sling off, and I just was rubbing Ben Gay on it every day on my shoulder. So this is probably the middle of August. We're in a fucking van that it's like 130 degrees, vinyl seats. It's fucking, as soon as you sit down after you mow a lawn, like, oh shit, they were so hot. That's how hot it was in there. Now we're driving through a neighborhood. And my boss, no, you know what? Yeah, he stopped because he saw somebody he knew. So he gets out of the van, he pulls over to the side in the neighborhood, gets out of the van, starts talking to this guy. Now I'm putting Ben Gay on my fucking shoulder, so hopefully I can whack my bag again that night, because it put me on the DL for like a week. I was listed as day to day. And Why? I don't know. I just decided, I go, you know what? This would be fucking great. I'm going to rub Ben Gay all over his hot vinyl seat. And he's got those little shorts on. And let's see what happens. Because anyone that knows that Ben Gay, man, that fucking shit like burns. It's really hot and it's fucking, oh shit, when you first put it on and stuff, especially in the summertime at 110-degree weather. I don't know why I do this stuff. Like, that guy was my boss. Like, why would I do it? Just the same thing with the old construction story when I shit in a paint can and put it in my brother's van and he wanted to fire me. Why? Why do I do this? Bob Levy was nice enough to take me out on the road when I first started. He got me gigs everywhere. He got me in so many clubs, maybe a better comic because I was working so much, because he had all these ins in the comedy clubs he started before me. He's like, hey, I'm going to bring this guy, and I would drive him and whatever and it was great. And I'll never forget, we're down in Florida, me and my girlfriend at the time, and we're eating dinner with him at this restaurant, and we started farting at the table. And he's like, don't do that. You guys got to stop. My girlfriend was farting too. We both were. And we were waving over to him with the menu. And he's like, don't do that. Stop, not in here. I'm like, why? What's the difference? It wasn't like a fucking Ruth's Chris Steakhouse. Like, no, just don't do it. He hated fucking farts, Levy, for some reason. And he's like, no, don't do it. I'm telling you, stop. And we kept doing it. And he's getting so fucking mad. He's like, just don't do it. I go, is it better if we do it outside? He's like, just don't do that in here. That's disrespectful. I'm like, disrespectful to who? Nobody else is smelling these besides you. So he just completely shut down at the table, and we didn't talk for 6 months. We were good friends, and we didn't talk for 6 months over me and my girlfriend farting at a table at a restaurant. He got so mad because we had to do gigs that weekend. He wouldn't even talk to me, wouldn't say nothing. And then for 6 months, we didn't talk because of my farting. My farts were out of line. I mean, Bob would go up on stage, and at the end of his show, he'd eat blue cheese out of a girl's ass. That was his ending bit. He'd be like, all right, I'm going to do this bit. I need a girl to come up on stage. I'm going to pour blue cheese in your ass. I'm going to eat it out of your ass. And he would get a girl 9 times out of 10 every show, pour blue cheese in the crack of her ass. She'd pull her pants halfway down, and he would eat the blue cheese out of her ass. And then spit the blue cheese in the air like Ric Flair, the wrestler. Or I think it was Ric Flair that spit something or whatever it was. Or someone spit the beer or something. I'm not sure. But he was offended by my farts. I was trying to explain that to him. I go, Bob, you're going to eat blue cheese out of a strange girl's ass. We're doing 4 shows this weekend, so you're going to eat 4 girls' asses that you never met before. And you're offended by a fart. So we didn't talk for 6 months. So my boss is talking to this person. I rubbed the Ben Gay all over his seat. It's fucking super hot on the vinyl seats. He comes back in the van. I could still picture I know exactly where we were. I could picture it like it was yesterday. We start driving, and he starts talking. Yeah, I haven't seen that guy in a long time. He used to go to high school with him. He's a nice guy. I'm like, yeah, really? He's like, yeah. And I'm just waiting for something. I'm like, oh, shit. And he must have drove for like 3 minutes, and I'm like, fuck, it didn't work. You'd think something. God damn it. Nothing. I'm like, all right, the Ben Gay must have just soaked right into the vinyl seats. He didn't get any of it. All of a sudden, he's like, ow. What the fuck? What is this? Why is my seat burning? What the fuck is going on? He's looking at me and I'm just fucking laughing. He's like, what's going on? Why is my seat burning? Holy shit. I'm on fucking fire. And he's like, what? And I'm just laughing. He's like, what'd you do? What did you do? I go, I just put some of that Ben Gay on your seat. He's like, you motherfucker. He gets out of the car, out of the van, pulls over right in the middle of a neighborhood. We're still in that neighborhood. Starts running around like he's on fucking fire. Running around on somebody's lawn in circles like a maniac, holding the back of his ass like someone fucking shot him with a bullet in his ass. And then comes over to go, get the fuck out. You're fired. Get out of the van. Get out. Scream. Get the fuck out. That's it. You're gone. And fucking fired me and made me walk home. I lived like 2 miles from there, so it wasn't that bad. Walked home in the middle of the afternoon with a tube of Ben Gay, still giggling. And he didn't talk to me for 3 months. We were good friends. We hung out. We go out afterwards, after work, go get beers, watch football games. I started working in this hardware store right after that because after he fired me, I needed a job. So I went to this local hardware store, started working there. And he would come in because he was a landscaper to buy supplies. And I'd have to load up his truck. Like he'd buy like 10 bags of mulch. And I would work in the garden shop in the back. So he would just hand me the receipt. He wouldn't say a word and hand it to me. I'd look at it. I'd load fucking 10 bags in his truck, and he would just pull away. Complete silence. When he finally talked to me, he goes, dude, 3 months later, he goes, you don't understand. He goes, my asshole was on fire for 2 weeks. My asshole was on fire for 2 weeks. Right then and there, I'm like, all right. It was worth it. It was worth getting fired. It was worth walking home. It was worth him not talking to me for 3 months, that his asshole was on fire for 2 weeks. And that was the last day I ever worked landscaping.